Hey everyone, can you hear me? It's Mandy LaGreca here, the #1 expert in IC healing, and I'm here to help you find your root cause. Now, in about 4 weeks, I'm going to be a doctor of true health, a doctor of clinical nutrition. I am currently a functional diagnostic nutritionist, in case you guys didn't know, an FDN-P. And in this particular field, we use scientific lab testing to help you identify your root cause and to help you identify healing opportunities. So my big thing is find your root cause, find your healing. Sounds simple, but not really a simple process. So our society doesn't know this yet. So keep it a secret. But people like myself are going to be the real doctors to help you get well. Because we focus on the function of your body and find out why it's not functioning. And we use natural methods such as food, nutrients, and lifestyle to help you heal. It's really that simple. But the process isn't very easy. It's a lot of science involved, a lot of biochemistry, a lot of studying, a lot of nights not sleeping. But I'm really glad to have you in our community. So if you're watching right now, and I know there's not a ton of you on right now, but if you are watching right now, please give me a thumbs up so I know you're here. And then go ahead and post your questions below, and I will try to answer them, although we have some really good questions that were submitted, and I'm going to go over 2 of the main ones because I think these are going to jive with a lot of you who are listening right now. So again, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you are here. And this is the first time I'm actually using Zoom to stream. So please excuse my, I'm moving the screen around over here. To make sure I've got this going okay. All right, looks like we are live. Okay, real cool. Okay, so let's begin. How about that? Now, don't forget to give me the thumbs up. I just want to make sure you're here. So I'm going to be doing these on Fridays. It won't be every Friday, but I'm going to try to do them on most Fridays. Now, the time can change. It's just going to vary, but you'll know ahead of time because I'm going to be putting a notification and an invitation for these live streams, and I'll be sending you an invite. Now, I'll be posting a survey for 2 reasons. One, to collect your email so I can enter you into our free root cause IC healing course sweepstakes. So basically every time we do this, we're just going to go ahead and select one of you guys and give you a free course to try out the root causes. And I want to do that because I want you guys to understand that the root cause is definitely the way to go. You've got to know that before you start healing. And so I'm going to kind of teach you what it is anyway and how it all started. So this is what we do in the little mini course. I try to kind of go over it. And I'll talk about this later today because one of the questions was on that as well. So this course is selling right now for $47, but if you enter your name and email, you'll get a chance to get it for free. I'm also going to give you out a free report on the top 4 root causes of IC. It's a free report that I put together, and I will post the link to that at the bottom as well, at the bottom of this live feed. And finally, I'm also going to be entering you into our newsletter because in the newsletter, I'm going to start giving out information, tips, things that are relevant to healing that you might be interested in learning about. So now, I also have a very special guest today at the end of this presentation. So if you're listening, please hang tight and don't go anywhere because we're going to have a special guest at the end. I'm not going to give it away, but some of you already have met him. Shh, don't tell anybody, but he'll be on at the end to introduce himself and meet you guys. So let's continue on. Let me just check here. Okay, we're good. We're still live. All right. Okay. Now I'm trying to record this on my Facebook group and then also my page. So I'm not sure where it is right now, but I'm still learning all this technology stuff. It's driving me crazy. It's it's too much technology. Let me just stick to my science. So wherever you guys are, I see you. And anyway, it's going to be recorded and you guys are going to be able to watch it later. So as many of you know, I've worked really hard to figure out what the root causes of IC and bladder pain syndrome are. IC is what we call a perfect storm, and it sure is. There is not one root cause, but a complex interaction of many of them. And each person has their own story and their own blueprints. So no two ICers are the same. No two ICers have the same root cause. And now we even know that IC and bladder pain syndrome are going to be different things. So even though we call it IC, right now we're kind of in flux with that definition. IC is more than likely going to go into the direction of Hunter's ulcers and the polymyelitis virus. And then bladder pain syndrome is everybody else. So 10% on that side, 90% on this side. But for now, I kind of clump them together, even though the root causes are very, in a lot of ways, are different. But one thing is common among all of us. The condition is debilitating, and it can really ruin your life. It had done that for me. In fact, at one point, I was suicidal, and I could not find anyone who would provide me with the support I needed to get through this terrible condition. I'm divorced. My ex-husband was not interested in helping me. And then the doctors, I mean, I was laughed at. I was told I was crazy. I mean, we've all been there, and I went through it too. My story started like many other IC patients. I had unexplained symptoms. A doctor did not believe me, and harsh medication and surgical options, which I refused to do. But after years of suffering, I was able to discover proven methods to help put my condition into remission and to help many other people do the same. So let's start the Q&A here, now that you know a little bit about me, because this is not about me, this is about you. And let's see, I had 2 questions come in, so I'm just going to go ahead and answer them here, okay? So, two questions that are, actually I had 2 more questions, but they were related to this, so I'm just going to kind of clump them in. So the first question is by Patty B. She said that she did a microgen test and has E. coli in staph and is doing structured silver that has cleared her UTIs, but she wants to know what other tests to run. She's gluten and dairy and sugar-free. Okay, now first I want to clarify that these Q&As are not for personal medical questions. I can't do that. There's HIPAA reasons for it, and then I don't know anything about your medical history. So when I answer questions like this, it's going to be done in a general and broad term because I can't do it. So please try to answer more generic questions. But in this case, I'm basically turning a personalized question into a generic response. Okay, so hi, Patty. Thank you for your question, and I'm happy to hear that the silver cleared your UTI. It does for many, but not for everyone. You are very fortunate that it actually worked for you because that means that your UTI was probably not a complicated UTI. It was probably just a regular UTI, which most women get. But unfortunately, a lot of people with IC, they get the complicated UTIs, which do not respond to a lot of these, like silver. It needs a little bit more than that. So good for you. Now, as far as labs, hands down, I recommend a genetic 3x4 is the one that we run, the 3x4 genetic test. And actually, I think I have one here I can show you. Yes, I do. So this is the one I like, okay? It's a swab test. Saliva. And this is the brand is the name of the brand is genetics, 3x4 genetics. So I like it because it does really well when run next to blood work and an organic acid test. So when they're run side by side, they're actually really, really helpful and really give you great information on your root cause. Now, the reason for this is because I had to make sure there was nothing in my teeth. The reason for this is because your genes tell us what predispositions are for any imbalances, such as pro-inflammatory genes, detox genes, or any biochemical processes that are in areas that regulate your immune system. Because one of the things we actually absolutely know for sure is that IC is a dysregulation of your immune system, and it's involved with a change in your inflammatory responses, which lead to a state of chronic inflammation. And with chronic inflammation comes, what do you think? Chronic pain, right? So definitely the 3x4 genetics is where I'm frontlining and front loading when people come in to work with us, especially if they haven't already done a SNP test. So if someone's already done a SNP test, then we can work with that and have them upload their tests into a different software and then get the SNPs. But moving forward, I want everyone to run these. Now, your genes are not your destiny. So like, I think we already all know this now, although, in case those of you who don't know, you have your genome, like your genetics, right? Your hair color, your height, your eye color, different characteristics about you. That's your genome. But what we're realizing now, there's something above the genome called the epigenome. And it really is and this like last 30 years is where scientists have really zoned their focus on this because they discovered this. And they found out that above the genome is what your genes interact with your environment. So there's a signaling and there's molecules that are involved in this process. And I go into great detail into this in my full IC Healer course. So I don't want to go over this too much, but we also are selling the IC Healer course by module too. So if you're interested in just the genetics, you can actually just buy the module alone. And so I can share that with you at the end as well. But anyway, so what we're finding is the genes interact with the environment, and this is how the birth of nutrigenomics and nutrigenetics occurred. So nutrigenomics and nutrigenetics, which are within the same continuum, same field. That was born and is really going to change medicine and nutrition and health in the future. And currently it has. So I think that that's where you should start, because what happens is you're going to find out what genes you might have that maybe have predisposed you to oxidative stress or inflammation, or maybe you have some detox pathway issues. And then you run a blood test, comprehensive blood test, not the stuff your doctor runs. So the doctor doesn't run comprehensive blood tests. They just run whatever panel, and then they look at it and say everything's fine. And that goes into another question somebody asked me, is when a doctor says, oh, blood work looks good, but I still don't feel good. I'm going to say, if you don't feel good, then the way they're looking at your blood work isn't correct. They're probably looking at the reference ranges, and they're not actually looking, or they're not running the right stuff. They may just ran TSH for your thyroid, but they didn't actually run your antibodies, and you may have autoimmunity. So just because your blood's normal doesn't necessarily mean it really is. So you have to have somebody who understands how to read the blood work, looking at optimal ranges, and then looking at your health history and looking at all of it as a big picture, and then determining, okay, where are the imbalances? And this is why I like the genes, because the genes kind of give you predispositions. Blood work tell you what's being expressed. And then finally, I also like the organic acid test, because the organic acid test is basically providing evaluation of about 76 markers, metabolic markers, biochemical markers, and a snapshot of your health. And it can provide an evaluation of whether you have yeast or bacterial overgrowth, if you have any neurological stuff going on, vitamin and mineral markers, oxidative stress, neurotransmitter, oxalates. It just kind of gives you like a really nice picture. And then if you run it with genetics, it's a beautiful landscape. It really gives you a lot of insight. And then you can take that information, health history, and create a healing protocol using that information to reverse what may have been expressed genetically through the environment, through your lifestyle. Okay, so the blood work and the organic acid test will tell you what is actually being expressed, and the genetic test will tell you what you might be expressing genetically, that you're predisposed to. Now, this test, the reason I picked this one is because, first of all, the professor my nutrigenomics professor, she's the founder of it. She's a PhD. She's a registered dietitian. She is extremely brilliant. It originates in South Africa, but they are piloting it in the US, and they selected me and a bunch of other practitioners to be the first to release this into the US. So it's got a lot of relevant SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms, which is basically variations. So let me clarify, mutations, which you hear a lot of, are not always bad. Mutations are just different. So just because you have a mutation doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means it's different. And so we just try to, analyze to see, well, where is it different, and what can we do to, basically make your genome happier. So a lot of that's just environmental, and it can be stress, it can be lifestyle. It's usually nutritional in a lot of cases. And I like this one. So if you are interested in doing it, email me at info@ichealer.com. And we offer it as a bundle. So you get the test and the interpretation. You can't just get the test by itself, because it requires a practitioner to review. And I usually spend about 3 hours reviewing people's labs. That's how long I spend on it. And I have to look at your health history. So it's a process. And so we do sell it as a bundle that includes the test and the interpretation. And happy to do that. Email us and we'll figure out how you can get that to happen. So thank you for that question, but it's a good idea. I know you changed your diet already. That might not be enough. So this will give us more insight as what other dietary things you can do to help your healing, because just going gluten-free there might not be enough for you. Okay. All right. So let's go into the second question here. All right. Let me just check something here. I'm just double checking, make sure everything is set. Okay. See the questions. All right. I'm just trying to figure all this out. All right. So I see the questions here. I will answer them at the end. Okay. Let's move on. The next question is from Patsy. Technology. All right. I have 10 windows open right now. Okay. I'm like getting bombarded by text messages from other people. Okay, so it's actually our special guest is wondering when he can come in. Not yet. All right, so Patsy B asked, how do these things come out of nowhere? Just one day you have pain. She wants to know how, is it true, can you heal from this? Okay, great question, really great question. Hi, Patsy, I hear this a lot. Now, it may seem like this came out of nowhere, but the problem occurred way before you had symptoms. And I explained this in my mini course, The Root Causes of IC, and I explained how the pathology resembles a stream. I'm going to actually show you that diagram in just a minute. But anyway, it does. It resembles a stream. And, you know, let me go ahead and pull up the diagram right now for you. I hope this works. All right. Let's play this. All right, so upstream is where it all starts. And okay, that was annoying. Upstream is where that starts. And that's when you don't have symptoms yet. And so upstream, it could be genetics, which is one of the reasons why I said genetics is one of the first tests to run when you have IC or any chronic condition to be, for that matter. Now that we have access to these tools, why not? So that's what I'm doing. I'm front loading that. So upstream is genetics. Then there's trauma. Now, trauma isn't necessarily like you're being abused, but there's all different forms of trauma. We go into more detail into this in the course. And then there's toxic exposure. So that occurs first and you don't have symptoms. Midstream, you might have some symptoms, but they're not that bad. And so you're just kind of dealing with it at that point. And that could be gut issues, food and nutrient imbalances, and sometimes some immune stuff comes in at play midstream as well. But that usually people are kind of just, I don't feel that great, but I'm good. This is when people come to get help. It's when they have downstream, and that's when their immune system is out of whack. They have tons of infections and they have inflammation. Okay, that's when things get hairy. That's when people are like, okay, I need help. But you know, what I'm saying is it didn't happen out of nowhere. It's been going on for a long time. In some cases, it could have been 20 years before you actually had symptoms. It just feels that way because something breaks that camel's back. It's that straw, and everybody has that straw. For me, it was a C-section of the birth of my child. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I had all the other things going on before. It was just, that was after I had the C-section. It was like, I woke up one day and had IC. But it wasn't like that. It was all brewing. Okay, so that makes sense. So that I wanted to share with you. And then another thing I want to share with you. This is really important for everyone listening to understand something, okay? You probably were in the middle over here where it was green for a long time. Okay, and you obviously want to be back to blue when things were great. You felt great, you had no symptoms, you had a lot of energy, you were thinking clearly, you know, life was good. You probably were in green for a really long time. And most people are. I think 99% of my friends are in green and they don't have IC. They've got fatigue, they've got bloating, they got to lose some weight, they've got joint pain. Okay, migraines. Migraines are huge, by the way. They don't get help. Why? Because it's not bad enough yet. They didn't get to that point where they're like, oh my God, this is ruining my life. I can still deal with this, right? But the problem is as you're in green, you continue to inch over to red, okay? Red, you don't wanna be in red because once you're in red, things happen that are very difficult to reverse if you can reverse it. Now, yes, that leads me to the other question. Can you reverse? Yes, of course, you can reverse, but a lot of things depend on how long you've had it, how old you are, and how much damage has been done. which is why I tell people early in the game, when you start having the symptoms, get help now, because you're going to continue to inch into red. And before you know it, you're going to be in the red zone. And the red zone, it's just harder. And the older you are, the longer you've had it. If you're in menopause, I'm sorry to say this, and I just, it's the truth. If you're in menopause, it's going to be harder. And then some of you may be in menopause and be shaking your head saying, yes, I'm in menopause. You're correct. That's because of estrogen. Estrogen has a protective influence on the body. So if you're younger and you're having symptoms, but you're not getting help, please understand the direction you're headed. And so this is why I do say, early detection is key. Early treatment is key. But it didn't happen overnight. No, ma'am, it did not. It started happening a long time ago. We were all in this indifferent zone, walking around. I had bloating when I was in my 20s. I had lots of digestive problems. I was on the pill. I had problems with my period. Okay, I had lots of menstrual problems. And I didn't know what was going on. And I had stress. I was bulimic. I mean, listen, it was a nightmare of a life here, And so then I woke up one day and had IC, but really it wasn't the case. So I just wanted to share that. I think that's a really important thing for you guys to see. I have one more thing here I think I wanted to share. So that's the question on that. So that because Patsy, you asked me, can you actually heal? And the answer to that is yes, you can. All right. That's the good news. So the bad news is, yes, it didn't happen overnight. The bad news is, yes, it's the process. But the good news is, yes, you can heal. Yes, your body can heal. I believe that your body has the innate ability to heal. And not only do I believe that, research says that as well. So let me just make sure I'm looking at the right screen here. I have 10 windows open. All right. So research says that you can heal. That is actually true. Your body has the innate ability to heal. And at the end of this live, I'm going to be putting a link where you can download the top 4 causes of root causes of IC and bladder pain syndrome. So you can download that and you can take a look at that. It's free. But I created that because I want people to know that there is causes behind this. And yes, you can put it into remission. The time to time might be different depending on who you are, how long you've had it, how many root causes you have. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The path is not linear. It is not linear. It's not easy. That's the truth. But I'm living proof that you can do it. And so are many of our clients. In fact, our average patient gets 87% reduction in pain in 6 months. 6 months, 87%. Would you like to have 87% less pain in 6 months? Gosh, hands up, because I would have been all over that. But unfortunately, when I was going through it, I didn't have anybody who could deliver those results. I didn't have anybody because nobody understood it. But I would have taken that in a heartbeat, because I was so miserable. I was suicidal. I mean, my life was horrible. And I lost a lot of time with my family, a lot. And I have 2 kids, now 12 and 8. I lost a lot of precious time with them. So if you're listening and you feel you can jive with this, you give me a thumbs up, because this is the reality. I'm one of you. I understand what you went through. I get it, but it doesn't happen overnight. But yes, it is possible. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to all our different communications and social media, because this is where we're going to be blasting you out with information. And I'm still getting into the technology, but you're going to see more of me on Instagram, YouTube, obviously Facebook. I have 2 pages. I have the Facebook group and I have the Facebook page. So please make sure you're subscribed to both. And I'm going to pop it in. I'm going to be showing you recipes. I'm going to be, giving you some tips. I'm going to be very active. And then we're going to also be doing these lives. So just stay in tune, stay tuned. And then let me take a look at these questions real quick. All right, let's see what we got here. I am the IC Healer page. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. I guess I'm going to have to share this. I think in the future, I'm going to be probably doing this in the group, but I'm still trying to figure all this out. But thank you, Mary Lou, for letting me know where I'm visible right now. All right. So can we use structured silver as preventative measure? Absolutely. This is not colloidal silver. Colloidal silver is very different than structured biochemically, than molecularly. It works differently. So I have some literature on that. I don't go into too much detail in that. You can look at that on YouTube. Dr. Peterson explains all that. But when people order silver from me, I send them a book. and then they get the book and they can use the silver. Can be used for the coronavirus, by the way. So if you guys are, worried about the coronavirus, you definitely can use silver for that. This is the one that we use here in the clinic. Okay, I just sell it on my website. I mean, people just go on there, they order it, I just ship it out to them. I ship it out myself. But yes, preventative measure. There's a UTI protocol that you can use that Dr. Peterson created. So that's that. And then you can use it for colds, flus. You can use it as a vaginal rinse for yeast infections. People are using it intraurethral. Okay, so you can. I verified that from the doctor. And then actually silver can be used for viruses, Mary Lou. So if you're interested in viral prevention, silver can be used for that as well. So, but other recommendations to fight viruses, honestly, the number one thing is to make sure that your immune system is functioning correctly. We are a society of immune suppression. We are a society of immune dysfunction. And that you can blame a lot of things. The top ones are our environment, our lifestyle, our nutrition, poor nutrition, poor food quality, stress, EMFs, toxins, heavy metals. I mean, there's many reasons, mold. I mean, there's lots of reasons why our immune system is suppressed. But that best thing to do for fighting viruses, and I know the coronavirus is on a lot of your minds, is really to keep your immune system healthy. So, and that's why I like doing these tests, like the genetics in the blood, because it kind of gives me insight as to, well, what's going on in your immune system. Like sometimes people run blood work and they have no white blood cell count, really low. It's like tanked. Or the opposite, it's super high. And what does that mean? What does that mean? It means either your immune system is suppressed or your immune system is fighting something. And so that's why the blood work is so important. You have to work with someone who knows how to read it. And a lot of people don't. Doctors don't look at it in the same way as we do. So, but yeah, so looks like we only have 3 questions. And so that's it for now. Let me introduce this guest here because he's patiently waiting. You there?
Hello.
There we go.
I am. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Well, this is Terry. Let me just do a quick intro of him before he talks. He is actually, many people who have worked with us in our clinic actually know who he is already because they've spoken to him. He's the man behind the scenes and helps me run the business behind the scenes, but he just also recently got a life coach and transformational coach certified. He's also my fiance, future husband, and he's been with me through this journey every step of the way after I got divorced, which I see caused my divorce. And, he knows if anyone knows IC as well as I do, it's him, because that's all I talk about. So, yeah, he should probably he should be a designated doctor, just from being around me all the time. But anyway, yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. He's going to be doing some content for us, videos, mindset, because that's one overlooked area of IC healing that most people do not talk about, especially a doctor doesn't, because it's on their scope of practice, is your mindset. Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Sure, Mandy. Hello, everyone. I'm Terry, in case you're not familiar with me. Some of you may be familiar with my voice because perhaps you've heard it on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't been there, I would highly recommend to go to YouTube and look for the IC Healer channel itself, and you'll hear some of my motivational and inspiring videos. But certainly a lot of what I do works around reshaping your mind and helping people develop a healing mindset, which is incredibly powerful and incredibly important. And I think it really gets overlooked. So many times people are focused on everything else, whether it be Western medicine or alternative medicine or supplements or new therapies that are coming out. But a lot of times you need to have, your mindset right. You need to be in the right frame of mind for healing, because as you can imagine, if you have this negative mindset, it's really going to hurt yourself. If you're not open to new opportunities, if you're not open to growth, if you're not open to change, if you're very resistant in general, you're going to get about what you would expect when you go down that road. And the opposite also holds true. If you have this healing mindset that is very open to new ideas, very open to change, you're positive, you embrace a challenge. These types of individuals, they generally heal faster. Would you agree with that, Mandy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think these types of people, instead of focusing all of their efforts and energies onto resisting things that perhaps does not make them comfortable, because I mean, let's be honest, if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you're not really going to experience any change.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's difficult. I get it. Doing new things is, especially the older some of us get, it is difficult. But
Oh yeah, I'll never forget when the first functional doctor I ever saw a long time ago was like, she did a food sensitivity test on me, and casein was really high. And at that time I was eating a ton of cheese and yogurt. And she said, you might not want to eat that anymore. And I looked at her like, are you kidding me? You're crazy. Later, I find out that was actually one of the biggest contributors to my leaky gut, was the constant consumption of the dairy. But yeah, I didn't want to change. I did not want to. I was so in love with my yogurt and so in love with my dairy that I did not want to change. But you reach a point where the desire to change is greater than the desire to stay the same. And I reached that point, and you were there, Terry, in 2016. I think that was the year I was in bed, crawled up, and I was contemplating ending my life because I couldn't take it anymore.
And that, perhaps some of you have been in that situation. Perhaps you know of other people who've been in that situation. But when you find your soulmate and they're sitting there in bed and they have tears streaming down their face, they're curled up in a ball, they want to get hit by a bus, which I can think of a lot of ways to go, but being hit by a bus is not exactly one of them. But I'll be honest with you, you just kind of die a little bit inside because someone that you really love and care about is going through tremendous pain and suffering. Yeah. So, I told Mandy at that point, I said, we are going to go to the end of the world. If you're willing, we will go to the end of the world to figure out what this means. And if that means spending money, if that means doing research, if that means changing our life, if that means going to experts to figure this out, the only really way that I know how to go after something is to acquire information. And, I know a lot of people have tried, especially a lot of people in this group. Everyone's always asking each other what actually works. But a lot of people in this group are not actually getting better. And I think part of that is because they don't have the answers. Mandy spent a lot of time researching. So when a lot of people are going out to restaurants on the weekend, Mandy's researching. When a lot of people are going out to their kids' baseball games, or when they're watching a movie on Netflix, or whatever they do in their spare time, Mandy's researching. Mm-hmm. She's attending seminars. She's listening to people who are speaking about IC. She's recording interviews for people who are knowledgeable in the field. And it's all information gathering. And I think part of when you go to an expert, you really do shortcut your healing timeline, because you're going to someone who's got experience, who works with people with IC all the time. But anyways, I got off a little tangent, but I did want to say that, yes, when you were extremely, I would almost in some ways during the flare-ups call it bedridden. You had to make that change. You reached a point, I think, where her desire to change was exponentially greater than her desire to stay the same. Mm-hmm. And once you reach that point, there's literally nothing you won't do. And surprisingly, when you have that mentality, it's like the oceans part. It's like things just start, becoming aware to you. The world just kind of opens and you start going toward your goals faster because you've made up the mindset that nothing is going to stop you. So if people can get to that point in life, whether they work with us or someone else or whatever it is, I think it's arriving to that point that is so critical where you realize, you know what? I am not a victim. I'm a survivor of IC, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to win this. I'm going to beat this.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And, you know, I've sacrificed vacations with my family. I've sacrificed, you know, getting my hair and nails done. Look at this. Okay. I haven't done a lot of self-pampering outside of, well, listen, the money I spend on my body and my health is in a lot of ways, because I always remember the time I went on vacation with you to New York, and I was in the worst IC pain of my life. And I'm like, I'm not even enjoying this vacation. I don't even enjoy this time. I'm in the bathroom constantly. Do you remember that? When we went to the wedding? And that's when I realized, why am I wasting my time and money on things that I can't enjoy right now? Let me focus on getting better. So now when I go on vacation, I'm actually feeling pretty good. You know, I can eat a variety of foods. I don't have to be constantly restricting myself. I can actually go 6 hours without using the bathroom. We can go on a road trip.
So
you know?
So true. I think a lot of times people have their priorities mixed up, and part of it is because they're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. They're in intense pain. Sometimes the flare-ups, they can't even think right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have really bad brain fog. Yeah.
I totally feel for them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it helps to hear from someone else. Hey, wait a second, your priorities are not really in line with what you're trying to do. So, you know, in Mandy's particular case, she realized, hey, you know what? What's the sense of booking these vacations if I can't enjoy them? And I think, you know, especially with summer coming right up the road, there's a lot of people out there who are probably thinking about, well, should I go on vacation or not? And, you know, a lot of people always say the best gift you can give yourself is health and peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really is, because if your vacation is going to be nothing but, you know, a flare up surrounding going to the bathroom, having a very, very difficult time, that's not a vacation. You're not really enjoying it. You're just changing the scenery.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate you coming in, popping in. I know you weren't prepared. He was not prepared. I just dragged him in. But you know, Terry's going to be doing some for group coaching. We're still working on how that's going to look. So we haven't really released that yet, but we will be doing a beta test with the group coaching shortly. And Terry's going to be providing some content, whether video format or in our in our live Q&As that we'll have for group coaching. So we'll figure out how to fit that in. He is, you know, really pivotal to a lot of people's just understanding how the mind is connected to the body, because I think that if they're attached, obviously, but I think sometimes we don't realize how integrated it really is, and how, you know, with the mindset, when you actually, how you view your future is actually going to dictate how your future is going to look. And that's all done in the brain. It's not even something you are conscious of. You are not even conscious that this is happening. But how you view your future is going to determine how your future is going to look. It's really that basic, but it really boils down to the subconscious mind. And I think a lot of that is just reprogramming how you think and reprogramming how you think. And that's where Terry comes in, because he helps people kind of look at their lives differently and kind of reprogram years of programming. I mean, listen, I've had years of negative programming from my family, and my family background, and just, you know, all the stress I went through as a child and adolescent, and I had to reprogram, and I'm still reprogramming, aren't I?
Absolutely. I think all of us are. I think society, especially in today, it's a negative based society. We don't really, I mean, how many positive news channels do you see out there? I mean, I'll wait. They're all negative. Mm-hmm. It's always about this person going bankruptcy, this person getting killed, this tragic event happened here. And it's like they focus on the negative, and that impacts our society so much, because now it makes us start to focus on the negative. Yeah. Instead of celebrating all the positives and all the good things you have going on for you in life. Sometimes people get so wrapped up in focusing on everything that they don't have. They kind of forget all the good things that they do. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So we're going to wrap it up here. No more questions. And hopefully those of you who weren't able to join, keep your calendars marked, because this is going to be, I know I've been a little inconsistent here, but I think it's going to be pretty much a done deal. Fridays, Friday afternoons, time TBD, roughly around this time, 2-3 time period, PM, but it could change, but we will definitely post the invitations for them ahead of time. And we'll be sending out the Q&A form for you guys for your questions. Thank you for the questions that we received so far. And we'll see you next week. So thank you. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right.